Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome again to Friday Night Podcast. We're here at 81st and Yale and Borders Books and Cafe in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm here with National Master Chuck Underwood, and we apologize for not being here for a few weeks, but we were busy with the Flat Earth Open and a number of other chess-related things, but we're back. So, Chuck, this evening we're going to talk about the Bishop Rook Pawn ending, and so welcome back.
Good to be back.
Okay, so we have up here is we want to talk about the general rule for the bishop rook pawn ending. So we have up here a game that you're going to talk to us about here, and this is winnable, but you have to know the pattern here.
Oh yes, chess. Most of the time when we're teaching chess, we talk about general rules. We talk about castling when it's early. We talk about developing pieces, but the real art of chess, or the art in chess, is the fact that there's so many exceptions. So we get down to a king, bishop, and pawn versus a king ending, and we notice that the bishop isn't the same color as the queening square of the rook pawn. Automatically, the general rule is thought to be a draw, but there are exceptions, and that's what we're going to talk about this evening. Here in this first example is the rule. The general rule is white stalemates black.
But not in this game.
In this particular game, he does.
So let's. This is our position here, and we'll assume that you've walked the king all the way back there. And so the first thing he does is he has to move to try and prevent the queening. So you move into here, right?
Yes.
Now that forces that king up to h7, attacking that pawn that's over on h6, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then if you move the king back, so basically you're just swapping tempos here.
And it's difficult to make headway. White cannot control the queening square.
Okay.
So this is the rule because you come into a stalemate situation. And so most of the time as we come through scholastics, your scholastic players know the rule. And what we're hope to show this evening is the fact that every once in a while there'll be a situation where the king's within the square, but it's still lost.
Right. But see, you've lost that. You went back and you got the tempo back, and now he has to move here. And now you're going to be able to go ahead and check him. He moves back. You think this is over?
This is over. This is a stalemate.
Okay.
And black walks away with the draw, and that is why it's the general rule.
Okay.
We need a bishop of this that's running on the same color as the queening square.
Right.
And that's another rule. Usually you win if it's on the same color. But this second one is the exception. This is interesting.
Okay.
The example that's in front of us, the king is placed just perfectly because as we see as we go through this example, the king has to cut off the black king from coming around the backside of the pawn.
Sure.
First thing we're going to do is move our bishop to e6. You try to cut the black king off from the dark square. If the black king were to get to h8, then this is a draw. We saw it in our previous example.
Okay.
So in this example now, the king comes up. Well, he can't take the bishop. He'd be outside of the square of the queening pawn. Once again, we offer the bishop, and if he takes the bishop, he's outside of the square.
So he continues to move in here, and this is the key position right here.
Key position. White has cut off the black king from the h8 square.
Yeah, you've got this square right here covered by the bishop, and you've got this square right here on g7 covered by the pawn. So the king can't penetrate to get over here to the h8 square.
So the black king, needs to come around to the back side of the pawn. And the importance of our king position, and that makes this the exception, is our king now enters into the fray and cuts the vital square that black needed.
Yeah, and as long as that white king is within one square of his pawn in this position, I think we talked about this earlier, then white's going to be able to go ahead and queen here. Yes. As long as he's within one square.
Yeah, white now forces the black king away from g7. White king comes into g7, and he'll queen.
And the king really has no choice but to move out there to e7. The king moves in, and it's all over at this point.
So what were the elements? The elements of this particular position, our king was in a position to guard the pawn from the rear.
Right.
our bishop was in a position cutting the king from access to the queening square,
Right.
and our pawn just happened to make sure that the only dark access square was cut off.
Right.
And if we had those three elements involved, we were able to make progress. So this is the exception.
Well, let's look at your next one now. This is the second exception here.
So now we feel comfortable that, here it is. Our king is able to reach h8. This should be a draw based on the rule. Well, no, it isn't, because there are two black pawns still
Okay.
on the board. And if those two black pawns didn't exist, black has the draw.
But those pawns are in the way.
They're in the way.
So let's see. What's our move here for? I guess it's black's move. If he moves in here, no, he can't do that.
Can't do that. We're gonna move our bishop back. Let's
this-
move our bishop back.
Where would you want to move him to?
I think we'll go ahead and just drop it back one.
Okay.
So that we force black to move.
And so what's black going to do here then?
He's going to move king to h8.
King in there. Now we're going to move this in here, or we're going to move the king over?
Let's
Whoops, I'm sorry.
go. Let's go ahead and move in.
Move him in here.
Oh, no, we want to move to the east. We could, yes.
Move the
Yeah,
king
let's
in?
move the king in.
Okay.
Yes. Notice what happens at this point.
This king has to move in here.
He can't. Bishop controls the square. So now he's his own worst enemy. That's the idea with the two pawns, the knight pawn and the rook pawn.
So he has to move this pawn up.
Yes. And so we capture with the pawn.
And now it's all over.
It's all over because it just so happens that black has a rook pawn left that he can move.
Yeah.
As we went back in this view, it was, well, it's just not good enough to control the square. We have to make sure we don't have any other pawns on the board.
Right.
Every situation is unique.
Okay. All righty. Well, there we go. We have those three different games, and so I think next week we'll go into some more exceptions on some different kinds of endings, and queen versus bishop, bishop, or queen versus knight, knight. But tonight it was the bishop, rook, pawn, and the exceptions how you can actually queen.
So note that there are some exceptions. Just don't offer the draw when you get to a position with a rook pawn and wrong color bishop.
Got it. Okay. Well, next time I play, I'll remember that one. So thanks, Chuck. I appreciate that. If you have any games you would like to for us to take a look at, we're over here at 81st and Yale at Borders, and so thanks everybody, and we'll see you all next week.